All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, the Big Ten Conference is on the verge of securing a new media rights deal with Fox, NBC, and CBS. And in doing so, the Big Ten will end their longtime partnership with ABC slash ESPN, which dates back to the 1960s. Now, you cannot be surprised that this move was coming for a variety of reasons. Of course, I talked about it, and a lot of other people have talked about it as well. After the Big Ten had agreements with USC and UCLA to join, that meant that they now have the three biggest media markets in the country in their conference. And like I said, when the news about SC and UCLA joining the Big Ten came down, I said, you know what? The Big Ten can go into any network office in the country and secure a deal. And that is exactly what they did now, because in having the three biggest media markets in the country, you have a huge negotiating deal in your back pocket. And that is something else that is something rather, that no other conference in the nation can boast. Now, CBS was willing to pony up the bread, and I expected that as well, being that they just lost the SEC coverage to ESPN. And you think about the SEC's relationship on CBS and what it meant to that network for so many years. And of course, in doing so, CBS got the feature game from the SEC on a week-to-week basis, and then of course it staggered on ESPN after that. But now, of course, CBS and losing the SEC wanted to get their or keep their stronghold on the college football scene. NBC also wanted a bigger picture on the college football scene. They televise home games for Notre Dame, and they've been doing so for more than 30 years. But nonetheless, how many home games are Notre Dame going to have? And now you have a bigger outlet if you're NBC as well. And the Big Ten was definitely more than happy to talk turkey with them. And when it's all said and done, I think the Big Ten just picked the right time to cash in. You had several networks that wanted to get in on this. Obviously, the Big Ten already had a partnership with Fox. They've been showing Big Ten games for the last several years. And now that relationship with Fox is only going to strengthen. Now, on the flip side, from ESPN, they turned down a 7-year deal with the Big Ten for $380 million. And from ESPN standpoint, the deal would have meant fewer marquee games for their network for the Big Ten, and while ESPN was also pushing to have more games on ESPN Plus. So at the end of the day, it just didn't work out for either party. And I think, credit to the Big Ten, they used their leverage very smartly. They knew that they had multiple networks that were willing to play ball. And in doing so, obviously, they were able to get the best deal possible for their conference. Now, with that said, I would imagine going forward that Fox is going to have its pick of the litter as far as having marquee games in the Big Ten, but the marquee game each week. But nonetheless, that doesn't mean that NBC and CBS are going to sit back and not, get, quality games on their network as well. And that's going to be the important thing. So the bottom line is the Big Ten is going to be plastered on all of the huge national networks, and that's going to give them the opportunity, and that's going to give those networks the opportunity to compete with ESPN as well. Obviously, ESPN is going to get marquee SEC games. You want to try to have as many marquee Big 12 and Pac-12 games and ACC games as possible. But at the end of the day, like I said before, and I will continue to say, it's the Big Ten and the SEC versus everybody else in college football. And on the flip side as well, USC and UCLA, they picked the right time to cash in. You heard about the reports as far as USC being frustrated with their payout from the Pac-12 conference. And now you're getting, an opportunity to get that lucrative TV money, which is definitely what they wanted. UCLA is looking to cash in as well. So both California schools definitely picked the right time to jump ship. Now, when the numbers come out of this deal, I'm sure we'll find out about it soon. It's going to show that the Big Ten is head and shoulders above the other conferences in college athletics. You think about the endowments that some of the Big Ten schools bolster. Of course, some of these Big Ten schools have alumni throughout the country at prestigious positions, not to mention, the athletic brands overall for a lot of these Big Ten schools. So this is only going to strengthen that factor. This deal at the same time is only going to make schools from other conferences question their positions in said conferences because if you're in the ACC or if you're in the Pac-12 or if you're in the Big 12 and you sit back and see how much some of these Big 10 schools are getting from these TV deals, you're going to sit back and say, "Hey, why can't I be a part of that?" And for the Big 10 conference right now, they're currently at 16 members once USC and UCLA join, but it really would not surprise me to see that number increase to 20 within the next 10 years because you're going to see schools, and I'm not even speaking hypothetically here. You're going to see schools such as Clemson. You're going to see schools such as Florida State. You're going to see schools such as Miami begin to question their loyalty to an ACC conference. You're going to see Oregon and Washington sit back, and other schools in the Pac-12 sit back and say, "Well, you know what? We want to cash in as well." And at the end of the day, money talks and everything else walks. So I think as long as once the media rights deals are up for said conferences with networks, there's not going to be any such thing as loyalty. People are going to continue to jump ship due to the fact that there's really no regulatory factors in collegiate athletics from that standpoint. Of course, there's no revenue sharing. And at the end of the day, each respective school is going to do what they feel is best for them. So at the end of the day, Kevin Warren, the Big Ten commissioner, he did what he had to do. Like I said, he's a sports executive. He knows how to use leverage, and he used leverage to a strong point and then some to secure this deal. And going forward, what does this mean for conferences such as the ACC, Pac-12, and Big 12? Again, I really think they're going to have to work extra hard to try to keep their members happy, but it's going to be easier said than done at this point. Schools always sit back and see the money and they say, "Hey, you know what? Why can't we be in on it?" You think about some of the former Big East schools that left to join the ACC. These guys sat back and saw the payouts. Same thing with a school like Rutgers going to the Big Ten. You think about, Nebraska leaving the Big 12 for the Big Ten. It came down to money. Same thing with UCLA and USC, Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC. And, it's never going to change. You think about some of the biggest players on the college football scene are in the SEC and the ACC. And of course, Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC strengthens that. And the same thing can be said with SC and UCLA leaving the Pac-12 for the Big Ten. So the bottom line is the Big Ten use leverage. They continue to have a strong leverage standpoint at the negotiating table. They got their money, they got their deal, and let's see how the dominoes fall into play for the other conferences on the college football scene. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.